Okay, let's start. So today's Friday and we're back from break with another One Piece, One Takes. So today I'll be talking about chapter 1068 or 1068 and it's okay, let's just get into it. So the title is A Genius's Dream and we'll get to find that out later on when Vegapunk talks about what he wants to do, his dream. So we'll start it off with the cover page. We see Caesar and Judge basically finishing off their previous scuffle from last chapter with the classic head bumps and stuff, and they're like, we can see them reminiscing over their past, being under Vegapunk. So then the cover page title would be Two Former Members of MADS Reunited. So this MADS group is definitely some sort of science group, probably with Queen, I don't know, but yeah, some sort of science group under Vegapunk, but I don't think we've really heard anything about this MADS group. I don't know though. So let's start it off with let's continue on with the story, So we get to see Pythagoras talking to CP0 about the Seraphim, because in the previous chapter, CP0 mentions that they want to hand back the Seraphim that they have, which is basically the Kuma one, right? So they mention how they want to, give back the Seraphim to Vegapunk by sailing all the way to the island, but Pythagoras mentions how, or rather asks them to, give an order to the Seraphim to just go over to the island by itself, because it definitely can do that, right? And apparently they're calling this Seraphim S-Bear. Yeah, S-Bear. So obviously they get declined because they don't want CP0 stepping foot on the island, right? So yeah, basically Lucci just says that they have to prepare to abandon ship and use S-Bear's abilities to, infiltrate the island, which is basically how they infiltrate the island is basically by using S-Bear's abilities, the Nikyu no Mi, so the pawpaw fruit that Kuma has, right? So yeah, that's how they infiltrate the island. Then after that we basically cut to we cut to the Grand Line where we see the Kamabaka Island, and we continue off from where we left off the previous chapter. So we see Kuma still running, and Ivankov and Dragon are like, come back, stop, why? And Kuma just decided to, teleport himself with his Devil Fruit abilities as well. So he's gone. Then we cut to Luffy's group on the island. So Luffy's group is at the junkyard with the ancient mech, right? Then we see we get to know why Vegapunk wants to leave. But before that, he talks about how he wants to, create a world with free energy, and which is accessible to everyone, right? That's the dream, even in our world, right? So Vegapunk mentions that, and then Luffy, of course, being Luffy, he doesn't understand that, and this is quite a funny chapter because we get to see comedic moments from Luffy and Chopper as well. But yeah, we get to see Luffy being confused and the the classic, like he's digging his nose while not understanding what's going on, right? So Vegapunk mentions how he wants to create a world with free energy, and Jinbei mentions how, nations go to war over resources. Same thing happens in real life. So yeah, obviously with free resources that's accessible to everyone and anyone, obviously wars wouldn't have to happen, right? So, or at least lesser conflicts will happen. So yeah, then Vegapunk mentions that this world is filled with raw power, and how he, if there was a way to harness it, then conflicts would cease to exist, right? So Luffy basically doesn't follow, and he also mentions that mm, it's nice of Vegapunk, right? It's nice of him to want to make people happy, to prevent conflicts, but time and time again he's mentioned that he doesn't want to be a hero, and of course he's a hero to many people, whether he wants to whether he whether he knows it or not. He's a hero to like tons and tons of people, because he took down oppressors and stuff like that. But I get him. He doesn't want to be a hero. He's basically most or if not everything he's done is for like basically for his selfish reasons, like for his friend, even if it's going against the world government, which is in their society, wrong, right? That will make them evil. But he says, screw it, let's go help out our friend, right? So yeah, basically he mentions that he doesn't want to be a hero, and Vegapunk says a few more things, but ultimately he just says that he wants to get out to sea with them, because yeah, he doesn't want to get erased by the government, which CP0 is like trying to find him, right? So while Vegapunk was basically saying all that, they hear like an explosion nearby, and yeah, that explosion is probably CP0. So we cut to CP0 in the future city, they're in the future cities. Oh, future city. Bruh, I can't speak. But we cut to CP0 at the future city, and everyone's in shock, Like all the workers and stuff there, all the inhabitants. I don't know if they're living or not. I guess they are. So they're all shocked. They're like, why aren't Cypherpole agents supposed to be wearing, black, not white? And then we see, what do we see? Wait, let me read. Okay, yeah. Then we get to see Usopp's group at the lab with Shaka and Pythagoras, and basically they spot the CP0 group, at the center of this city, town sort of thing. And yeah, they basically confirm that they they want to fight because they're willing to, let their ship be destroyed by the mech beasts, right? And previous on the previous chapters, or rather the previous chapter, yeah, and the previous video I mentioned how Lucci definitely had a power up. The CP0 are all strong, and that they could take out the sea beasts. But I guess they're more. I guess in the end the sea beasts, even normal sea kings, are like dangerous to single crews, because like there are multiple, right? And even if you could take out one, they're huge, and as long as you guys sink, if you all have devil fruits, you're gonna drown. So, um, yeah, which is kind of nice because Sea Kings are still a threat. Imagine if like all Sea King, if you one person could take on like 10 Sea Kings, then yeah, nobody would be scared of them, right? So I guess it's nice to know that even the legendary, or not legendary, I guess legendary, or rather fabled, even the fabled CP0 can take on like multiple Sea Kings, or rather the mech beasts, you know. So yeah, they decided that they were just gonna let their only form of transport like be destroyed because they're ready to fight, you know, and capture Vegapunk. So yeah, and also I think yeah, Shaka was the one who confirmed that they used S-Bear's ability to, you know, infiltrate the island using his paw powers. So then Shaka orders an evacuation. I can't speak, but basically Shaka orders an evacuation, and rightfully so, right? So he asks, uh, or rather, he orders an evacuation for all the researchers and workers on the island, and he also orders Atlas to, you know, make her way back to the lab while preparing the other Seraphim. So I don't know whether he was asking her to prepare the Seraphim or it was a separate order, but yeah, I don't really know for sure. But let's just go with or you know what? I'll continue on and I'll address it later on. So basically, you know, to prepare the Seraphim, S Snake, S Hawk, and S Shark, which, you know, it's pretty much the warlords, right? So if S Bear is Kuma, then we got S Snake, you know, Boa Hancock, S Hawk, Hawkeye Mihawk, and S Shark, Jinbei. So I guess they're all kids though. But anyway, he orders them to be prepared, which will then be entrusted to Sentomaru for, I guess, the defense, right? So, yeah, we've always known that Sentomaru was like under Vegapunk as some sort of like, I don't know, student or like a bodyguard. I'm not so sure, but he's definitely under Vegapunk. So he might be in the on the island though, if yeah, potentially he might be on the island. Probably just like sleeping and didn't know like this that the Straw Hats were on the island. So yeah, entrusted to Sentomaru to like protect the island and Vegapunk, I guess. So Sentomaru might actually be on our side as well. Not on our side, but on their side, like the Straw Hat side. So yeah. Then after that, after all those orders, we cut back to the, you know, Luffy's group, and we see Vegapunk asking him again that if he could join them to sea, you know, and Luffy mentions that this basically this ain't no what this ain't no play date, you know, like this ain't no field trip. And but yeah, he basically says but he'll allow it though because he has a funny looking head and Chopper is obviously like shocked, and it was pretty freaking funny. He's like okay, good, that plane isn't coming anywhere near here. So anyway, it was funny because Chopper was basically like, oh, what kind of well, what kind of screening process is that, right? Like, you have a funny head. Okay, you're coming with us. I mean, that's totally Luffy though. But yeah, that was pretty freaking funny. Anyway, then he mentions that, or rather, Vegapunk mentions that, um, like, you know, that they should go up to the lab stratum, which is, I guess, at the top of the island, and you know, they could go from there or something. Like, they could, yeah, they could, yeah, they could go from there. And he mentions to also bring Bonnie along, obviously, right? And we see her still like on the ground, passed out. And yeah, damn. I guess her weakness is bugs. So yeah, we see her passed out, and Luffy, says, "Sure, let's bring her along," basically. And then we see Vegapunk like slowly fading out, like vanishing. Then we see Luffy and Chopper like, "Holy crap! This guy just disappeared." But yeah, then they basically start heading towards the top of the lab at top of the lab, top of the island as well. And we cut to the CP0 group getting attacked by the kaiju, right? We saw at the beginning of the Egghead arc. Is this an arc? I'm pretty sure this is an arc, right? So we get to see the kaiju attacking them, but obviously it's a hologram, right? But they don't know yet. So we see the Cyberpole lackeys like shooting their guns, but it won't work. And we see Kaku trying to kick it, but it doesn't work. And Stussy then mentions that it's a hologram. So, like, after everyone tried. But we'll get to that. But basically, Lucci then responds with, "Oh, so you're well versed," and she's like, "Yeah, had some history," or something like that. So basically, she knows about the stuff on Egghead. So then Kaku decides that he wants to, get above the clouds to check, to see stuff, to get more info, right? Reconnaissance, if you will. So we see Kaku jumping up with with the techniques, I guess, and then he asks Lucci if he could also see the two lines on the clouds, and Lucci responds with yes. So basically, Kaku goes past the cloud, the huge cloud with uh, the two lines, right? And then Stussy, knowing what she does, after Kaku passes the lines, she mentions that, Vegapunk has a defense system that, when if any enemy goes past the line, uh, they basically get neutralized by a laser beam. So obviously Kaku flies down, and then Lucci asks Stussy like, why she like, he basically says like, you should tell us beforehand, instead of letting things happen. So obviously Kaku gets blasted, and he lands back on the ground, and he's obviously pissed at Stussy. Like, he was like, why the heck didn't you like tell me? And then Stussy responds in a sarcastic and sassy way, like, just we get to see a fun dynamic in Cypherpole. It isn't necessarily like super serious. For the most part, they still are very serious, but we get to see a nice dynamic. So then we see Atlas just stomping towards the CP0 group, and she mentions how, she's the only one allowed to rampage around this city, and she basically prepares for her ultra punch stuff, something like that. And Lucci mentions how this isn't a game, so he quickly transforms into his leopard form, his bulky one, and he performs one of those techniques. So he performed the technique that was used against Luffy, his Rokuogan. Yeah, you know that thing. Yeah, he performed that on Atlas, and obviously she was shook. And yeah, at first she took one shot and she was damaged, like her face was cracked, and I think her left eye was blinded, I guess, like completely broken. and then he did it a second time, and she was down for the count, but she was still breathing. So, yeah, he did a lot of damage towards Alice. And not to say that I was disappointed, but I thought she would at least put up some sort of like fight. You know, like going down that easily. But hey, I guess we'll see soon enough if we'll see their capabilities. Anyway, then after that happened, we get to see the final, not final chapter, but the final panels. And basically, we see Luffy like running along with Bonnie on his shoulder, like going up, wanting to go up to the lab, and then he and then Luffy's group stumbles upon Lucci's group, and they both look at each other like Lucci's like, "Oh, Straw Hat," like, and then Luffy's like, "Pigeon guy?" And then end of chapter, you know, and we've got to wait for one more week. So yeah, that's basically the whole chapter. It wasn't necessarily a lore heavy chapter, nor was it an action heavy chapter, but it was still very good. Yeah, we get to know more about Vegapunk and his ideals, or rather like his dreams. Yeah, a genius's dreams. And for the most part, or rather for yeah, his dream is basically to, you know, prevent conflict, make people happy. And yeah, then we also get, it's nice to, you know, reconfirm that Luffy himself doesn't want to be known as a hero of sorts. He's still a pirate in the end. Not maybe not those like oppressive pirates, but he's still a pirate, you know. So after that, yeah, we get to know more about the Seraphim, or maybe not know more about, but I guess uh, they aren't just, you know, lasers and stuff like we see with Jinbei's Seraphim, or rather S Shark. We get to see that he has who was that character again? I mentioned him before. He had that swimming fruit. That dude in Dressrosa who fought Frankie. The baby guy. What was his name? Basically him. Jinbei had his fruit, and he was like, so I want to know if Mihawk has a fruit too, which would be crazy, cause he's already crazy strong with his sword. Let's be honest. So to have a freaking like fruit as well, and Boa, her fruit is great. You know, obviously. I will say this though. Besides her arrow thing, which she could use, if this is gonna be a bit weird if someone like finds her pretty like Sanji and turns into stone, like she's a kid, you know. Okay, that might have been a little bit of a weird tangent, but I'm just saying it's gonna be a little weird if some of them find, not that she isn't pretty or cute in her younger form, but it's gonna be a bit weird if there some people are actually gonna like find her gorgeous or what in that form. So hopefully there isn't anything of that, but you never know. And then yeah, besides her ability, actually, now that I think of it, you know, who's to say that she couldn't have another devil fruit ability added on top of her what was her heart no me? I don't know. But on top of that fruit, you know? And if there was a fruit, if she had another fruit, or rather the S snake had another fruit, crazy, crazy, crazy. So then, not much else happened. We get to see more of Cypher Pole, and more specifically CP0. We get to see more of Kaku, Stussy, and Lucci. We get to see their dynamic. It's not totally serious. Still, they're mostly serious, but I like the dynamic that they have. It's not necessarily like, maybe for Lucci it is, but for Kaku and Stussy, I like their dynamic more. It's kind of like they're friends instead of business partners, you know. So anyway, we get to see them. Yeah, we get to see the defense system that Vegapunk has, and also forgot to mention that the defense system is called the Frontier Dome. I guess it's strong enough to deter them. I'm not too sure, but then we get to see Atlas trying to fight them, but obviously she gets knocked out in an instant. Which again, I'm not necessarily disappointed, but it's kind of like, not that size has anything to do with power, as you've seen with Luffy, like fighting freaking giants, but yeah, Atlas was like Kaido's size, and I thought she would give a bit of a challenge, but I guess not. Then we get to see the fateful like reunion of sorts between Lucci and Luffy. So we'll get to see, hopefully we get to see some sort of action sequence, hopefully, but I'm okay if it doesn't happen. But yeah, hopefully we get to see some action sequences next week between them. You know, maybe Luffy can unknowingly transform into Gear 5 again, and then Lucci would be like, oh, but then Luffy also has to have a power up, so I'm waiting to see what he has for a power up, because if it's just like the Rokugan again, then I don't know what he could possibly do, right? You know, improvements in Haki, or maybe there's like some other secret technique that he has, you know, for their martial arts. Or maybe he's even, wait, was he awakened previously? Maybe he's awakened his fruit. Who knows? Maybe he's awakened his fruit and it turns out it's a mythical zone, and it's some sort of like leopard god. Hopefully not though, because not that I'm personally fatigued by the popping up of mythical zones, but yeah, you know, I'd rather not see so much mythical zones now. They're supposed to be like the rarest of the rare, so to see them like back and forth. But yeah, besides that, great chapter, you know. It wasn't crazy good, I'll admit. Or rather, not that it's crazy good. It's still good. Very good in my eyes. But it's just not as, you know, hype. It's not as lore intensive. So I give it a solid 8.5. You know, lowest I go is 8, but I'll stick with an 8.5 out of 10. It's a great chapter. It's a great chapter. After a week's break, it's definitely something that I'm satisfied with reading. You know, it's nice. It's I don't know about Dressrosa's pacing, because I've started seriously catching up with One Piece afterwards during the Wano arc. So I wasn't there when Dressrosa was like airing, so I don't know about the pacing. But so far now the pacing, personally, I feel like it's just right. It's very nice. Like good progress with the story. In one chapter, it's not too long of a read, but it's also not too short. Doesn't have to have action, but the action was a bonus. You know, get to see familiar faces, worn out places. Okay, I'm sorry, that was lame. But yeah, we get to see familiar faces. We get to see a reunion of like one of one of one of the most iconic, anime scenes, right? Because that's where Luffy did his jet Gatling, and that was crazy. That was one of the scenes that really solidified my love for One Piece. Like at a very young age, like, dude, he just got wrecked by Luffy. And if he got wrecked by Luffy with his gear second, then imagine a gear fifth. So I'm waiting to see what Lucci can do, because if he didn't have a big power up, then in no way, shape, or form should he be able to like win over Luffy. Maybe damage him a tiny bit, but win over him? Nah. Dude, like, I'm not into power scaling, but tell me, what kind of power up can Lucci have to compare to freaking even Cracker? Like, even Cracker, one of the sweet generals. Let alone freaking Katakuri, right? Obviously, Katakuri is way stronger than him. I hope so. Like, imagine if Lucci suddenly, like, is able to beat Luffy. Then again, they might have some secret up their sleeves. So, we don't know for sure, but yeah. Once again, I'd like to mention my rating of 8.5 out of 10 for this chapter, 1068. Yeah. So, I guess that's all. Yeah, if you have anything you want me to read, you want me to react to anything, anything at all, I'll be sure to answer it in the comments below. So just leave a comment if you want, and if you enjoyed this video, if you stuck around till the end, you know, just if you want to, just drop a like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll be pumping out more of these. I might consider doing maybe twice a week videos. I'm not too sure, but that's something of interest. I'll see how though. But yeah, like, subscribe, comment down below if you want. Comment down below anything, and take care. See you next week. Bruh, oh my god, why did I do that?